Hello and welcome to another episode of The Poetic Turn. We talk about poems, poets, poetry, and I am joined, as always, as my co-equal co-host, the talented Evan Carlson. How are you, Evan?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Very good on a lovely day here in Chicago, Illinois.
Returning from some travels, right?
Yeah, I was out of the country, and it was lovely. And I'm happy to be back home. I was in a lovely place. A friend of mine invited me to visit him in Valencia, Spain. And it was kind of spectacular, I have to say. It's my second trip to Spain, and I have other friends who live there, and it's lovely. But, you know, Chicago, Illinois is a great town, Evan. I don't know if you've not been here as long as I have, but you have good impressions of Chicago thus far?
Well, yeah. No, I love Chicago.
You've only been held up once, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I met Evan not too many years ago, and was dismayed to learn that he was held up here on the dangerous streets of Chicago. And in my more than 3 decades in this town, maybe I actually am at my 4th decade in Chicago, I have never been held up, and I don't believe in jinxing. So even me stating this does not put me in any danger, Evan.
That's good. That's good. I wouldn't want you to be putting yourself in danger.
Well, we're covering a famous American poet from many years ago, Walt Whitman, and he's famous for all kinds of reasons. I have a long way to go before I approach the kind of facial hair that Whitman sported on a regular basis, but I would get a cool regular gig during holiday season as Santa Claus if I had the flowing white locks.
Yes.
Sadly, it would take too long, take another 40 years here in Chicago to approach the Santa Claus character.
Well, I think it's funny that, you know, you go off to Spain, you come back here to America, and you say, I want to read some Walt Whitman, the most American
That's right.
of poets that there is.
He's very, very, very American and lauded and celebrated, and we're going to celebrate him a little bit here and talk about him, mostly by talking about 3 poems of his. And Evan chose this one, and it's a part of a famous poem called I Sing the Body Electric, and I like what he's chosen to excerpt from this.
Yeah, this is, Walt Whitman sort of saw his work as creating a sort of modern American Bible of democracy and all these things. And so, you know, some of these are long, sweeping poems that you can actually kind of read less sweepingly. You know, you can pick apart and read it, and it sort of can act on its own. It's like if you read like a psalm in the Bible. You know, it's like you don't have to read
all
every
the psalms
single one
to read one psalm.
Yeah. You know, that's how I take it, at least. You know, some people might disagree, but
they're wrong, Evan.
But they're wrong.
I'll fight them for you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And so if these people are wrong, then we must be right.
That's right.
And so our way of doing it is, you know, you can pick and choose some parts of these. Because Leaves of Grass, I mean, he was working on that book his entire life. So there's many editions of it.
Yeah. There's
even a deathbed edition. I don't know how close to the deathbed it was, but
you wonder how much writing he did, you know, after the deathbed part.
Yeah. Well, you know, it that is the question. I think I have a good answer to how much.
You have a non-zero answer. That
Yes.
will probably be correct.
But we'll talk about that on another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is from I Sing the Body Electric. It's the 4th movement, I suppose, the 4th section. I figured I could give it a read right now.
Please.
Yeah. This is from Walt Whitman's I Sing the Body Electric. I have perceived that to be with those I like is enough. To stop in company with the rest at evening is enough. To be surrounded by beautiful, curious, breathing, laughing flesh is enough. To pass among them, or touch anyone, or rest my arm ever so lightly round his or her neck for a moment. What is this, then? I do not ask any more delight. I swim in it as in a sea. There is something in staying close to men and women and looking on them, and in the contact and odor of them that pleases the soul well. All things please the soul, but these please the soul well.
Wonderful, Evan. Well read. And Whitman is really connected to the body. He talks very frankly about matters of the body and sex and life and, of course, nature.
And friendship. It's part of what I love is that, I mean, just this, that first line is one of my favorite lines in poetry. I have perceived that to be with those I like is enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't say love. He doesn't say, but it's like, it's a good life to just be around people you like.
Yeah. And all these years later, these hundreds of years later, we're in a crisis of being by ourselves or being solitary or being...
Yeah.
It's easier nowadays to just be in a room with a screen instead of with other people. Back when he was alive, you had to be with other people. You had to interact with people to get the work done, to get food. There was just so much more need for social interaction, I think.
Yeah, and it's that's sort of what Whitman is great at is making things in life a little more joyful, maybe.
Yeah. Or recognizing the joy. In little things. And, if you read, I haven't read all of Leaves of Grass, but, it's I know some folks who think of it as sort of a very empowering book. And, it's because of things like this where it's not necessarily, like this, I don't even know. Like this section would it be considered a poem? I don't know on its own, but it is poetic and it is enjoyable to read and it gives me something. So yeah. Well, before we started this podcast, and what impelled us to do it is that connection to things and how it makes us feel. There's something that I feel that's strong and impactful and important when I read a poem. Some of the poems that propelled us to do this podcast just hit us a certain way, and this poem does that as well. That connection, that to be surrounded by, to stop in company, pass among, touch, and that line, I do not ask any more delight, I swim in it as in a sea.
Yeah. Well, it's like, we can just look around ourselves and see that what we have actually is a lot that we maybe don't, or that we maybe take for granted.
Yeah.
And Whitman was showing that perhaps this can be swum in. Swum.
It can be swum inside. Yes. Yeah.
So I love this little piece, and it's the kind of thing. Whitman is one of those poets too that you can kind of revisit a lot and meditate a little maybe on some lines, because it does have a bit of a secular religious quality to it. In a way,
very much so.
Yeah.
Kind of leads us into the next poem out of the three we're going to read today.
Yes.
And it has a connection to people and a sort of intimacy to it. This poem is called A Glimpse. A Glimpse by Walt Whitman. A glimpse through an interstice caught of a crowd of workmen and drivers in a barroom around the stove late of a winter night, and I, unremarked, seated in a corner. Of a youth who loves me and whom I love, silently approaching and seating himself near, that he may hold me by the hand. A long while amid the noises of coming and going, of drinking and oath and smutty jest, there we two, content, happy in being together, speaking little, perhaps not a word.
Great reading. Great reading.
What a sweet story. He's there,
Yeah.
and does he invite the other person to come near him, or does it seems like the other person just comes near him?
Yeah. Yeah. Do they know each other? Do they not? What first drew you to this poem?
I think the love in it of a youth who loves me and whom I love, silently approaching and seating himself near, that he may hold me by the hand. It does seem like they know each other,
Yeah.
and they're sitting together. And I thought this poem was appropriate for Pride Month because they do seem like they are connected. There's a love for these two men have for each other, and they're just there. They're holding hands, just surrounded by noises and drinking and coming and going, swearing, joking, and they're just happy to just be together. And there's an echo
Yeah.
of the previous poem that we read in this. Happy in being together, speaking little, perhaps
Yeah.
not a word, just being together.
Well, that's a big theme in Whitman, and maybe the thing that he wants us to get out of all this is that being together is a great thing. And I mean, this was written, or at least published in 1872,
Yeah.
this poem. And so, the content of it might seem a little more contemporary.
Yes.
But, I mean, this is something that is fairly old,
But there's a snapshot of a moment in time with these two men. And he says he's seated in the corner. He says he is seated in a corner unremarked. People don't notice him. And so clearly they don't notice these two men sitting and holding hands, although there are different aspects historically of men being together. Famously, Lincoln slept in the same bed with Joshua Speed, which is something people did back in the 1800s, 1860s, for warmth, for comfort. I think that's been interpreted as by some people as saying, well, there's some kind of that Abraham Lincoln perhaps had homosexual stirrings or something like that. I think that is likely inaccurate. But this poem, A Glimpse, it does seem like Whitman and this youth who loves me, who loves him, and whom he loves. There is some connection between these two.
Yeah, and it also is sort of, as I'm looking at it, sort of juxtaposing what they have with what's around them.
Yeah,
and
yes.
so Whitman and this other man,
this youth,
are just seated and holding each other by the hand a long while amid the noises of coming and going, of drinking and oath and smutty jest. And so all around them is all this stuff, this
maelstrom of activity,
this noise, this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of it could be interpreted as perhaps, I don't want to say immoral, but more.
Well, smutty. It's just
yeah,
guys, people, just rowdy, and maybe they're after work or they're drinking, they're swearing,
But then in the corner of all of that is something that perhaps some people would think is terrible, but is actually this beautiful moment of togetherness.
Yeah. If someone noticed it, if anybody noticed it, would they have an issue back then? We don't know, but
or today.
Yeah, very good point. Some places today, yeah.
And it's just this to escape all of that into this simple moment of contentment, being happy together. I think it's a beautiful little poem, a glimpse.
I agree. I'm glad we celebrated it.
Yeah.
And we have we can move on to our third poem, and this goes along with what we're doing here today.
Yeah, this last one, I first was introduced to it when I was at a theater in California, a Shakespeare theater, and they did a Lauren Gunderson play called Silent Sky, and it's featured in that play.
This poem is featured in the play.
Yeah, and it's it's about these astronomers and scientists, and at some point the main character, her father sends her this poem as sort of an olive branch of sorts. And so this might have been the first Walt Whitman poem I ever really read because of that. And it's called When I Heard the Learned Astronomer, for those of you listening, because I don't think I said it.
Yeah, well, let's, why don't you go for it? Give us a pass through it.
Sure thing. This is When I Heard the Learned Astronomer by Walt Whitman. When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures, were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon, unaccountable, I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. We talked about that. I think one thing I noticed in this pass-through, he has the word unaccountable. I think we would typically today say unaccountably. So he's sitting listening to the astronomer, and so for some reason, unaccountably, I get tired and sick. I've got to get up and I got to get out of here. That's the way I look at that. I think an old-fashioned construction of that would be, how soon unaccountable I became sick and tired.
Yeah.
And I think today you would say, how soon unaccountably I became sick and tired. So our podcast is called The Poetic Turn, and this poem does seem to have a turn there. So he's listening, charts and diagrams, listening to the learned astronomer, and then for some reason, he's got to get out of there.
Yeah. Well, and this is interesting because it sort of, at first glance, reverses maybe what we've looked at in the other two poems, which is this togetherness and community, that kind of thing.
Being with other people.
And, I think that technically that's true that he's leaving these people, but I think that what he's leaving is actually a group that maybe is not really together. We're looking at these columns and diagrams. We're wanting applause. It's the stuff that's not true being together. And so he goes out and, you can be together with the earth, with the sky. And so he's always sort of searching for that the most natural connection with somebody or something. And it really, I can picture this poem so well, somebody who's gone to this lecture and about something that he's interested in, and at some point there's just this compulsion to leave because it's not real. And then from time to time looking up at the silence of at the stars.
Yeah. And he could hear the cosmos described in charts and diagrams and figures, but he just wants to go look at it. Here's an idea. How about I go look at it? And back then you could really see the stars. There was little light pollution back in the 1860s, 70s, whenever this was.
Well, and it really gets at experiencing. I think that's a good word for Whitman, is experiencing. Instead
of learning about or talking about or trying to dissect something. Instead of just dissecting it and it's about gas and atoms and charts and diagrams. Well, it's something ineffable if you just take it in the natural world. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, there's sort of this sort of secular religious thing that he's got going on where he says, he wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air.
Mystical,
And so there's sort of these transitions into spiritual's not even the right word because it's not really, but it's just presentness to what's really here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you like to read that again for us so we can get a second read?
I would. Yeah. Let's have a second pass at it here. Here we go. When I Heard the Learned Astronomer by Walt Whitman. When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures, were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon unaccountable I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Wow. That was a great reading of it. And the little line that I noticed in this was from time to time. It doesn't end with in the mystical moist night air. I looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Point.
It's from time to time.
Yeah, he's out there. He's not out there for the stars. He's out there. He's letting the air, he's out there in the moist night air, allowing it to envelop him. And he's in a place, and he wanted to be in that place. And then, okay, I'll look up. Oh, the stars are there. They're still there. I'll look up. He may have. Do you think he went out to look at the stars, or he just needed to get out of the room? Or?
I don't think it was. I don't think it's that he was like, yeah, I'm gonna see what we're really talking about out here. It's sort of because it doesn't give that as an answer really.
Yeah.
But it's sort of just, it's like a little parable or something that's showing us like it's there, and it's not that we have to just stare at it,
Yeah.
It's always there.
And maybe that holding it back, making it not the center of his reason for going out, makes it more, it's more of a great kind of fitting ending to this poem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we start with astronomer and we end with the stars.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, and it's because astronomer is somebody who has to understand these things and has to know about them. But at some point, there's what can you know about something really?
Yeah.
Other than experiencing it. I don't know.
It seems just even a bit mocking too when I heard the learned astronomer.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so, I mean, he could have just said, when I went to the lecture by the astronomer, or when I heard the astronomer, he's a learned astronomer. We've got to give him so much respect. And he lectured with applause. And, everybody was so crazy about him. I just, I'm not sure why. I just had to get out of there.
Well, that gets to something else about Whitman, which is, he's all about the people.
Yeah.
And in the same way, in that Carl Sandburg poem we read, I am the people, the mob, he doesn't place his sights upon, a single person. It's really about everybody.
Yeah,
Although he does like Lincoln a lot. We brought up Lincoln, which is fitting for this. Oh, Captain, my captain. Yeah. But yeah, well, this has been great. I haven't dug into Whitman very much. Yeah,
we wanted to do another public domain poet. We thought, well, there's so many to choose from, of course. We could revisit other people, but yeah, to bring him out. And I like the connection of the one poem to Pride Month, but also just this amazing, astounding, great American poet. And people like Whitman and Dickinson hold multitudes and can be revisited. So certainly,
yes,
good idea to bring Whitman up the first time.
Well, that's probably the most quoted line from poetry that I have. The "I am large, I contain multitudes."
Yeah.
Because it's a good answer if you contradict yourself. Because that's from let me pull. It's from Song of Myself, and it is, he's writing all these things, and I think he preemptively was like, well, I'm contradicting myself here. So he says, do I contradict myself? Very well, then. I contradict myself. And then in parentheses, I am large. I contain multitudes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Because we're not always on one line of thinking. We do hold many things at the same time.
Yes, bouncing here and there, and then maybe focusing a little bit and examining nature or the people around us, or just taking time to tune into a podcast about poetry and learn things or experience things outside of ourselves, maybe help us be a little bit more thoughtful, a little more present. And
Yeah.
I know I am so much more connected to the artistry of others when I'm diving into poetry with my friend Evan Carlson. So
Yeah.
always a good experience, Evan.
Well, and as Whitman says, it's good to be with people you like.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Well, now we've not really said that we like each other, Evan.
Well,
that's not really.
That's true.
Is that a foregone conclusion? Is that?
Well, what's nice about this podcast is when it's over, I can go to those people that I like. And you can go to yours.
Yes, we can. Thrown together by circumstance, forced to do a poetry podcast. Oh my goodness! No,
You got to pay the bills somehow.
Not with this, but still, somehow we will. But I always enjoy talking to you, my friend,
You as well.
my good friend Evan Carlson. And thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Evan will do this again. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.